So far, the London 2012 Games has cost about £9 billion of investment. The big question now is this going to actually generate a net economic benefit for the UK and for the deprived area of East London, Stratford, where the Games are being held? I'm joined now by Sir Martin Sorrell. Welcome to INSEAD Knowledge. Sir Martin, you're in a position to be able to see what the advertising spend, the consumer spend is going to be like. Do you think these could be the first games to actually make money rather than lose money?
Definitely. I think there are some cynics around, but if you look at the sponsorship estimate that we worked on with the LOCOG, with the local committee, if you look at the consumer spending, actually the figures are roughly the same, around about £1 billion of sponsorship spending and about £800 million of consumer spending in the 7 weeks of the Olympics. If you look at the legacy impact on East London, the infrastructure impact on East London, and I think if you look at the emotional benefit, if you look at the emotional benefit of the Jubilee, I think that was an extremely positive event, and particularly if the UK does well in the medals table, I think we'll see a positive, tangible benefit and intangible benefit as well, because this is not just a science, this is an art too.
Now you're talking about a combined total of sponsorship and increased consumer spending of about £1.8 billion, but the Games have cost about £9 billion. That to me seems to be a deficit.
Well, no, but you're taking the infrastructure spending, you're confusing capital expenditure, Nigel, with income statement, because there is the capital expenditure and the benefit that comes around. I mean, a lot of these events drag forward spending that you would have had to have made anyway, whether it be airports, roads, hotels, infrastructure. I mean, these are things that probably people need in the long term anyway. In an emerging market, as some people insist on calling it, or fast-growing market, these benefits are much more obvious because you start from a lower base. In a mature economy like ours, people will argue about them, but that capital spending that you referred to, the 9 billion or whatever it is, that capital expending will be there for lifetimes. And when we talk about the legacy benefit, it's difficult to estimate what the figure and the benefit and the rate of return will be. But basically, I think all it does is drag forward spending that you would have to have made anyway. At this particular point of time, if you're a Keynesian, you probably think it's a very good idea.
Now, one of the great things about this Olympic Games is it's supposed to regenerate a deprived area of East London, of Stratford. But when you go there, you see the Westfield, you see the Olympic Park itself, all very affluent and glitzy, but parts of Stratford seem pretty much the same. Is that ever going to percolate through to the rest of Stratford?
One hopes that over a period of time that will be the case. By developing the east side, you saw this with Canary Wharf. I mean, there were the naysayers about Canary Wharf at the time, but of course that's become an alternative centre for London and has developed London into an even broader cosmopolitan and metropolitan area. And I think you'll see the impact of that development on East London. You can't measure it now, because the impact will be over a long period of time. So I think we'd have to revisit it and come back to it in 5 years' time.
A lot of tourists come to London anyway in the summer, and a lot of businesses and consumers are going to be affected adversely by the Olympics being held here. I just wonder, on balance, whether the disruption is going to actually outweigh all the extra advantages.
I think actually it'll be a net positive. Again, if you look at the visa estimates for travel and consumer spending over the Games, I think there will be people who say, and I've heard people say this, for example, at British Airways, they're saying that a lot of people are going out of London, residents, because of potential congestion or concern about congestion. Usually when that happens, there isn't any, because people have taken, you have a reaction and then a counter-reaction. But I think net overall, the gain and the stimulus to we're seeing it in the build-up now. I mean, London has already become very busy indeed in front of the Olympics, and we're 3 to 4 weeks away. So I think you're seeing a lot more activity now, and I think the gain will outdistance the pain.
Sir Martin Sorrell, CEO of WPP, thank you very much for talking to us on INSEAD Knowledge.
Thank you, Nigel.